Hello everybody, welcome to another Versus Video Deck Tech. CVM here along with
BBD.
the old Braun-Duin himself. And what we have here is a junk mid-range deck that Jeff Hooglin used to sweep the Swiss in the Open this weekend in Cincinnati and make it all the way to the top four in the top four in the top eight. And I'm actually pretty excited to be playing this deck. It's very similar to the junk mid-range deck that Reed Duke was champion towards the end of the previous standard. We have a couple different changes here. So we're going to start out with just the Caryatid Corsair Crew Fixes, which you're going to have in every green-based mid-range deck in standard, whether you're playing white, black, blue, basically any other color, along with your green and white. Sylvan Caryatid and Corsair are just the two paramount cards.
Yeah, they provide the acceleration and the constant source of card advantage that you need to function.
Absolutely. And then we also see that we have the Scavenging Ooze. Now, Scavenging Ooze and Corsair Crew Fix both are very good since they are just ways to gain life consistently, and that makes our Archangel of Thune just very, very powerful. So that was one of the main combos that the last version of this deck leaned on, was Archangel of Thune along with Corsair and Scavenging Ooze, and we see that Jeff Hooglin decided to use the same type of engine here with this deck.
Yep.
Now, along with that, Blood Baron of Viscopa is also another way to gain life when you have out Archangel, but it's just a very good creature all by himself. And then we have Obsidat, which is also very good, as BBD knows.
Is it good? I've never played it before.
I mean, he's all right. But that's covering the top end there for us. But then we also have the new addition to this deck that wasn't in the previous incarnation, is Advent of the Worm. So I think that this card is actually very well positioned right now, that the control decks are starting to shy away from like their Azorius Charms. As we can see in the blue-red deck that you're playing today, Advent of the Worm is just going to be very good against those types of decks.
Yeah, and it's also a card that people maybe don't expect to play against. They're going to run their, Corsair Crew Fix into your open board, and you're just going to put a 5/5 out there and kill it.
Yep, put a Surprise Worm in play and eat them up. I think it also actually plays very well with the other new card in this deck, Ajani, Mentor of Heroes.
Yes.
So Ajani is just a card advantage monster, whether we're making our Corsair Crew Fix a 5/7 to attack, or just +1ing and getting creatures similar to the way you would use Garruk. But at any point, if you get to end-step Advent into Ajani, make it an 8/8 and attack, that's just a very, very powerful board that your opponent is under a lot of pressure.
Definitely, yeah. There's a lot of sweet interaction between those two cards in particular.
Now, we do only have one Elspeth, which is the biggest error that I think when I'm looking at this deck. I think you definitely want to have two Elspeths, as it is just, probably the best card in Standard. I don't really like only playing one, but the deck did very well, so we're going to play it as it was just to see how it plays out. And then we have two Underworld Connections. Now, I was working on a Golgari mid-range deck last week leading up to Cincinnati, and the thing that surprised me the most about it was just how powerful Connections is in combination with Corsair Crew Fix. So Corsair is very powerful with Domri Raid, and we've all seen that. I've done my fair share of showing it on camera, playing monsters quite a bit. But Underworld Connections plays a very similar role to Domri along with Corsair, where we're just flying through the top of our deck, drawing the cards that we want to draw, which are usually non-lands, and then playing the lands off the top with Corsair. That combination is just very, very powerful.
There's another neat thing you can do too, which is you can play a Scry land off the top of your deck. With the Scry trigger on the stack, you can draw a card. So if it's something that you definitely want, you can draw a card with the Scry trigger on the stack, and then Scry the next card. Yep. Whether or not you want to keep that.
It's pretty tricky, but it does work.
And also, Johnny gets Underworld Connections too.
Because it's an aura.
It is.
How cute is that? Now, we do have Abrupt Decay and Hero's Downfall, just very premium removal spells. A couple Banishing Light as a catch-all, which is something that this type of deck hasn't had access to in the past, which I imagine is one of the reasons that Jeff did so well is, we do have Banishing Light now. And then a Lifebane Zombie rounded out. Now, the other addition to this deck that was in Journey into Nyx, which I feel is the most influential card in Standard, is Temple of Malady. So now with this type of deck, we have all these powerful cards that we're playing, but we also get to play like 11 Scry lands so that we are finding the good cards when we need them. Initially, you would think that having so many lands that come into play tapped are just going to make it so we get ran over by the aggressive decks. We have Caryatids and Corsair Crew Fix, so the aggressive decks aren't going to be running us over. And then we also have Abrupt Decay and Scavenging Ooze, which will allow us to stem the tide and continue to gain life as we get into that mid-game. So I feel like even though all of these lands are coming into play tapped, this deck is very well set up against the aggressive decks, and then the scry lands are going to give you mid and late game against the control decks because we're filtering the bad cards to the bottom.
Definitely, yeah.
So that's the main deck. I'm really excited to give this a shot, but let's take a look at the sideboard and see what kind of sweet options we have there. Hello everybody and welcome back to the sideboard for the Junk Midrange deck. Now, one of the reasons why I think that these green/black based midrange decks are so powerful is that they have really good sideboard options.
Yep.
Much like in the past we saw Jund. Basically every incarnation of Jund that's ever been popular has been very good because the sideboard options are always so good. So here we have Tugo Gary Charm, which is legacy playable, and we get to play it in standard. Very good. We're using every part of it, in multiple matchups. I really think Gary Charm is a very good card right now. We have 2 Thoughtseize, which is one of the other things that I don't really like with the main decks. I think there should be some Thoughtseizes in the main. But at the very least, I'm happy to see that there's some in the 75. We have an Erebos, which I also like. We do have Unknown Connections and Obsidian in our deck, so technically we can turn it on. But at the very least, it's a way to cut off half of the benefit of Sphinx of Revelation against the control decks and give us just a steady stream of card advantage that our control opponents are going to have to use a Detention Sphere on. Yeah,
and the nice thing about Erebos is we have so much life gain.
Yeah, we're going to draw a lot of cards.
So we can draw a lot of cards.
Too bad Courser isn't green-black hybrid. Then it'd be real good.
That'd be a little too good.
So we have the 3rd Underworld Connections, 2 Sin Collectors to go along with our Thoughtseize. I really like Sin Collector in this deck. I feel like post-board I'd want to have like 4 Thoughtseize and 2 or 3 Sin Collectors.
Yep.
But 2 and 2 is what we're going to have to work with for now. 2 Putrefies, which is another good card right now. I think that it's kind of fallen to the wayside. And I know Brian and I made the switch to play Putrefy in the sideboard of our Jund Monsters deck this last weekend.
We did, yep.
And I was very happy with it.
Same.
The thought process behind it is that you want a card that's going to kill all these different creatures that are troublesome. Boros Reckoner, Night Veil Spectre, Pack Rat, Desecration Demon, and Master of Waves are all these just very good creatures, but there really isn't just one removal spell that kills all of them, except Putrefy.
Yeah.
Putrefy just handles everything.
There's also like Obstat, Stormbreath Dragon.
Yeah, Obstat, Stormbreath Dragon, Paul Kranos. Like, it just kills everything that you need it to kill.
Yeah, and like he has 4 Heroes Downfalls in the main, but sometimes 4 is just not enough. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then even in decks where you can't afford to play Downfall, Putrefy is kind of an option that people forgot about.
Yep.
We have 2 Bioblight, which is another very good card right now, as it handles a lot of troublesome cards at a good rate, and is just one of the few ways to catch back up if you get behind against Pack Rat.
Bioblight is one of the best removal spells in Standard, and it is so the kind of the history of Bioblight is it was extremely hyped when it came out, ended up not being that good immediately because people built to beat it, expecting it to be super prevalent. So the card kind of fell by the wayside a bit, but now no one's really like doing that anymore, and Bioblight's actually just secretly like one of the best cards in Standard, and no one's really picked up on it yet. But it really, like the fact that I see Bioblight in the sideboard here tells me that this is a well-designed deck, that actually some thought went into it, because Bioblight is just such a good removal spell and really should be in like every single black deck.
I like it a lot.
Yep.
Then we have Lifebane Zombie and another Obsidian to round out the sideboard. So I really like how the sideboard is built, given how the main deck is configured. I feel like if I were to make any changes to it, I definitely would want more Thoughtseize in the main. But other than that, I really like the deck, and I'm excited to play it. And it'll be a little bit of a change for me to be playing the Elspeth this time. But Brian still has them in his deck too. So let's jump in and battle some magic.
All right.